Hi there, welcome to Transcone Trail Sales. Today we're walking you through your 2025 Wildwood 27Rk. We are just going to start off at the back of the unit. If you notice, you are pre-wired for an observation camera as well as a collapsible stair system. If you'd like to get set up with that, you can contact the parts department and put together a quote for you. Also located at the back is your spare tire. As we're a little tight for space, so we'll go over the water system in the back there once we get over there. In this back bumper, this is typically where you're going to want to store your sewer hose. We do have a brand new one located inside the front compartment. I'll show you that once we get there. This is typically where you want to store that after your first use, just to try and keep as much smell out of the unit as possible. It does just press into place. When you do with your standard 50 amp twist lock connection, you're just taking note of that silver stripe there. Lines up with the silver stripe on this side, pushing that firmly into place. 8th turn to lock it in, and then you got that threaded collar really locked around. If you follow that cord back, you do have your standard 50 amp plug end. Now most campsites may not have this, so we do include this 30 amp dog bone adapter. Just keep it in mind when you're going down to 30 amps of power, you'll not be able to run 2 air conditioners at once. You can only run 1 at a time, so be mindful of that. And then we do also include a 15 amp park adapter to go down from the 30 amps, but with that 15 amp, there's no air conditioning. You can't run any of the air conditioners. It really just is to run your fridge and your lights. Whenever you're plugged in, you get those 2 little blue lights letting you know that you have a successful power source. Forgot to mention, underneath here, if you peek your head down below, you got the valve. This valve is for your galley tank, so that's for your kitchen sink. And then right up front here, you got that twist lock connection. You're just taking note of those ears there. It's the same ears your sewer hose are going to have. They just line up with the notches like so. They lock into place. Then you got your black valve and your gray valve. You always want to empty your black valve first. This is your dirtiest water filled from your toilets. And then you can come behind that with your gray and your galley, which is typically cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. The gray is for your bathroom. And then you're going to notice another outlet here that is, if you were to have a washer-dryer combo installed, you'd always have to have this off. If you were to have that washer installed, failure to do so would just cause some backup inside the washer to backflow into the unit. So be very cautious of that. You got your 2 low point drains here. And then almost at the front, you have your front storage compartment goes right through the other side. Located at the front of the unit, you got your battery box, and then you do have a battery disconnect with it in the on position like it is now. The batteries are connected to the unit. If you were to turn it to the off position, the batteries would become disconnected from the unit. And then right up front, you got your 2 standard propane tanks. Most of the time, get what you need done just by loosening off these tabs, flipping this cover open. But for the purpose of the video, I am just going to slide it right off. Set it off to the side. You got your 2 standard 20-pound propane tanks, pretty standard, just like any standard barbecue, counterclockwise all the way, slowly to open up the flow of propane to the unit. And then you do have a selector for your regulator. With it pointed this way, you're going to be drawing off this tank. If this tank were to go dry, you just got to close this valve, disconnect it, flip the switch over to this side, and then you can run off this tank. Power tongue jack right in front. And we got the other side of that storage compartment, flipping that guy open. You got your little exterior spray nozzle. Pop it in place, lock it in, sprayable water, slide out override, as well as your power jack, stabilizer jack override as well. And then you do have that manual override for the front tongue jack. And then located inside this box is just a little starter kit. You get that 10-foot sewer hose, which I've already talked to you about, 15-foot water hose, and some other miscellaneous goodies, as well as that 15 amp park adapter. You got the fresh water fill, so if you're out boondocking or you don't have a site with water, put a garden hose in there, turn it on, and that is what fills your fresh tank. The drain is just down right below here. Opening up that valve does drain all the water outside of the tank. Now you got your first stabilizer jack button. They're going to work the same both front and rear. You're going to have another one for the rear ones. Hitting the extend button, the feet are automatically going to start running their way down to the ground. Sometimes they can go down at different paces just because it's an open gear system, so just keep that in mind. Whenever you're operating these guys, just keep it in mind they are stabilizer jacks and not leveling jacks. But essentially, once those feet ran all the way down to the ground, you hear the motor wind up a little bit, and you can let off the button because you know you're stabilized. Then they're retracting, it's just the opposite. You're holding that retract button, they're going to start making their way up. And you hear that motor wind up like it would when you were putting it down, and you know you're all the way up. A little bit further down the unit, you got your 2 JBL exterior speakers. You do have a pre-mount for in case you want to mount a TV outside. A couple standard outlets, coax outlet in case you want to plug in that TV. Inside here, open this up, it is just a little exterior kind of kitchen area. You got a 110 mini fridge, so that will be on whenever you're hooked up to shore power. Lifting your travel latch, you can pull out your griddle. You got your hose connected right at the back. You just have to run that down. And you do have your propane quick connect line here, which is pretty simple. Pulling that dust cap off, always making sure you put the dust caps on either end whenever you're not using it. That way you're not getting any debris inside there. Pull back at the collar and insert, open up the flow of propane. Added safety measure, you can't operate that collar whenever the flow is open, so you do have to close it. And you'd be able to light that griddle. Then to take it down, it's pretty much the exact opposite. Putting dust caps back on both those ends. Stick this one back into that compartment, and you can start sliding this guy back. And if you were to be traveling, walking down that travel strap, that's that exterior spray nozzle I was telling you about. There's your service port for your hot water heater, sliding that guy open. Main things you need to worry about, that little power switch, turning that on, supplies power to the thermostat inside. Then when it comes time to winterization, this isn't like your standard tanked water heater. There's no bypass valves. You do actually run antifreeze through the system, with it off, of course. And then once you're done winterizing everything else, just cracking this pressure relief valve and leaving it cracked open. That way the antifreeze has a place to go whenever it expands in those cold winter months. Then right around at the back, what we weren't able to get to at first is just your hookups. You got your 2 cable satellite hookups. City water connections, so if you're at a site with service, thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. No need to run your water pump. Then you do got a black tank flush, so if you're noticing smonder panel readings or just an odor around the unit, thread a garden hose in there. Reading the caution sticker, that is very important that you do have to have the black tank hooked up, the sewer hooked up, and the black tank open. Just reason being, you're pushing pressure inside the tank. If the pressure has nowhere to go, it could expand the tank to the point of cracking. Get inside the unit, you are just pushing up that assist handle, folding at 90 degrees, locking it into place, and then you can open up your door, fold out your stairs, pulling that blue lever. The stairs will come out towards you. Adjustable feet for your campsite needs. You can have nice little stairs. Taking a step on inside, first thing you notice off on the left is that fire extinguisher, pretty much just like home, pull the pin and shoot. Now stepping over to the right, you got this big light switch. It's on a dimmer, so you can go dim to bright. Turns on all the living space lights. Got your monitor panel system right up top here. You do only have one black tank. It's hooked up to black 1. Black 2 isn't hooked up to anything. And then, of course, your gray and your galley. And then you got your water pump switch, which draws out of your fresh tank. Awning light. Turns on that accent light outside underneath the awning. And then you got an accent light button, which turns on some interior accent lights. Slide out operation switch, pushing and holding that extend button. The slide out's going to start making its way out. Always making sure you know what's on either side of the slide, inside and out. That way you don't run the risk of damaging anything. Unfortunately, today we're not going to be able to get the slide out to its full extension because of space, and I'm aware of what's on the other side of my slide. So that is about all we're going to be able to go today. Once it got to that full extension, you hear the motors wind up and click. And of course, that's when you're at your full extension. And then you got your awning control, which is pretty much the same thing, running the awning out. Once you see the back of the metal tube and the little flap hang down, you know you're at your full extension. Again, just due to space today, we're not going to be able to get it all the way out. Always keep an eye on wind speeds whenever you have this out. Once you get to about 5 km/h winds, think about bringing it in. Doesn't take much to bend these arms or rip the fabric. Now, if we were to start ringing, you can take any arm, front or rear, pull down at the center. It's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing the water to now run off. Of course, if you like that angle better, you can do the same thing with the front arm. It's going to allow for more shade underneath, and then making sure that you always push these arms back to straight before you roll the awning in. That way you don't run the risk of bending anything. And And then rolling the awning in is as simple as holding the button. It's going to roll in. Once those arms contact the side of the trailer, the motor's automatically cut out and you're done. Aside from that, pre-wired for a solar system. If you'd like to get set up with that, just contact our parts department. And again, they'll put together a quote for you. 2 separate thermostats. This one is going to handle the rear AC. It's also going to be the one that's handling your furnace. Pretty simple. Push the button once, you can go into your different modes. I'm just going to go over the fan setting first. So you push it a second time to get to your fan. You got high or low, so that's just moving air around with the air conditioner, no heating or cooling involved. Back into your modes, you go over to cool, hit the button. You're going to notice now it says auto. Whenever it's an auto, it's an on-demand system, so if the room's reading it's 32 degrees Celsius and it's set to 15, once it hits 15 degrees Celsius, it's going to kill the air conditioner. If you had it on high or low without the auto, the fan runs regardless. Now, going over here, we can go over to heat. Now that's going to kill the air conditioner, fire up the furnace. The furnace does only have 1 fan setting, so keep that in mind. You're going to notice a cool dry, just a dehumidifying mode. Then you have cool plus heat, so it's going to decide what to kick on depending on what you have the room set to. And now this thermostat does only control the front air conditioner. Works the same way as this one. Now you got your bathroom, light switch on your left. You got your Suburban water heater thermostat on the wall, up and down at any point in time to set your set temperature. It's locked to 50 degrees right off the bat. If you push and hold the up button for 5 seconds, it does unlock it. You can go to 55. It's just an added safety feature so that kids can't scold their hands. Celsius and Fahrenheit with the press of a button. Then on the other side of the wall, you got your main GFI plug, reset in the middle, test in the bottom. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, that would be the first place I'd look. Other than that, your standard bathroom, whenever you're using any of the storage around on the inside, always being mindful of drains and water lines, and travel straps. Always making sure you got your travel straps on whenever this unit is rolling. That way, nothing's rolling around, slamming freely, causing damage. Same goes for all your chairs and everything as well. Speaking of that, we got your main entertainment center, fireplace right down below, power button on the far right, button next to it changes your flame color, the one in the middle changes your rock light colors. Then you get to your heat option. You got to push it twice, you go into low heat, push it one more time, you get to high heat, then you got a timer, it goes anywhere from 30 minutes to 9 hours. Other than that, standard, pretty much a standard entertainment center. Minus the fact of your main satellite outlet here, you notice this little black button turns the screen light on. It's turning the antenna on the roof. Whenever you get to your campsite, I recommend leaving it on. It also improves radio frequency and cell phone frequency, but whenever you're done using it, turning it off because it does draw battery power. You got your 2 recliner chairs here. Noticing you've got travel straps on both so they're not sliding around freely. All the blinds in the unit do work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. One quick pull will allow them to retract back up. Whenever you're running your air conditioner, you got 2 different settings you can run it on. You can run it on these louvers open, in which case it dumps all its air into the living space, or in the back bedroom situation into the back bed. Or you can close them, in which case it's going to move its air throughout using the ceiling ducting. The furnace moves all its air through the 4 portals we have throughout the unit. The kitchen area, pretty standard. Sink, nice little cover here, popping that open. You got your microwave. Range hood, always recommend running that fan whenever you're using your stove. That way you're evacuating those propane fumes, and because we're talking about propane fumes, you do have an LP detector located right here near the ground. If this guy ever starts going off, don't panic. Just turn off the main supply of propane at the front of the unit and open up some windows and vents to ventilate things out and get some fresh oxygen inside here. When it comes time for lighting the stove, whenever you have had your propane system off for a while, it allows air into the system, so you do have to purge that air out. So I always recommend, if you've had the propane system off, you get your campsite, turn it on, firing up your stove first thing. Reason being, it's just allowing you to purge all that air out of the system simply using the stove. Because if you went to go fire up your water heater or your furnace, they're only going to try lighting themselves a few times before they're going to throw a fault code, which could throw you off and think you have a problem when you really don't. Hit that igniter. Of course, I had the propane system running earlier, so that's why it did fire up so quickly. But you'll see even now, because I had it off for a few seconds, I probably still have it off, knowing me. So that's probably why that's not firing up. I'm going to make sure that it is working for you before it leaves. Below, you'd be turning the knob to the pilot option, pushing and holding it in, hitting the igniter, and then eventually, if you had propane, you'd have that pilot light lit, and once it can hold its own without pressing the button in, you can turn it up to your desired temperature, and it does fire right on up. You got your Furrion fridge, opening that up, fridge freezer combo. Controls for both are just right down below here. Obviously, all the way to the right is going to be its coldest setting. Anywhere before that is a warmer setting, and then you got some off-grid writing here. That's just letting you know the most energy efficient setting to have it on if you're running it off battery power. Charcoal filter to help with fridge odors. Again, you can get some more of those just by contacting your parts department. Beautiful little cabinet area. Now you get into your slide out space. All these lights are just on their own center push buttons. This is a Versa lounge, so you currently have it set up as a sectional. This cushion here is just held in with stake pockets there. This cushion pulls right out of place, in which case you can flip this onto this side. So you can have a little seating, extra seating area in this area and have your couch smaller. This also does fold up into a bed in case you were having extra guests. Pulling the cushion out of the way, and you can fold out that into a bed. Just grabbing the foot of the couch, push it back into place. Now, last but not least, we are just going to take a step into the bedroom. Light switch is on your left. Right above the light switch is your Versatilt bed. Pushing the up button, obviously the bed's going to start making its way up. Wherever you let off is where it stays, and then you can allow that bed to go back down. You do have a TV backer located inside here in case you were to want to get a mount another TV. Outlets up top. Storage space, and if you notice inside here, you do have some water lines. You got to double check that you winterize these come time for winterization, because they could crack or freeze if you don't. Your prep for washer dryer combo, again, wanting to get set up with that, just contact your parts department. They can put together a quote for you. Got your emergency exit here, grabbing those two tabs, pushing this up. That'll allow you to pull the screen up and you can hop on out. Get it back down. You're just sliding both those down. Grabbing the foot of the bed and lifting up. Get yourself a nice little extra storage space. It does go into the front compartment though. Now, right here on this step here, you're going to notice an antifreeze inlet sign. If you take the two screws out of the top of this stair is going to pop right out of place, and that is where your water pump's located. That is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.